this is insane. Like, it's insane, not because it's so complicated. It wasn't that complicated. It's insane about how powerful it is and how many people are going to want to use it.
This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not investment, legal, or financial advice. Opinions are those of the host and guests and do not reflect any affiliated entities. Investing involves risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results. The host and guests may hold positions in discussed securities. Now, please enjoy the show. Adi, thank you so much for joining me. Super excited to chat with you. All right, Adi, you're the founder and CEO of Popcorn. Popcorn is a consumer social platform for vibe movie making where people can create movies in minutes. And you're also a true entrepreneur. You previously founded roughly 6 companies, one being YouNow, which was the first mobile live streaming app in the US with over 100 million users. All right, you've been like in the internet, if you will, like since the inception. Going through your LinkedIn was incredible because it started off in 1999 where you were working on something called Oddcast, 2003, K Solo Karaoke, 2005, Target Spot, 2011, YouNow, which was kind of the mobile revolution, 2017, Props, which is more crypto, 2022, Revel, more NFT, 2025, Popcorn, which is more centered around AI. All right, so take me all the way back to 1999. Like, why did you decide to really, dig deep into the internet? Like, what compelled you to build within that space?
Yeah. So I was actually a filmmaker. I did a documentary that played in the movie theaters at the time, and I sucked at directing. And this was like in the mid 90s. And they started a new program at NYU, which was kind of an engineering program inside an art school called Interactive Telecommunication Program. And I was immediately drawn to making movies with the tech as opposed to making movies the old fashioned way. And so this was kind of like, I'm going to date myself. This was like laser discs to make interactive video. You don't want to hear about that. But long story short, I started making games to just pay for grad school. And I did the Matrix game for the movie, for the Warner Brothers movie. And that was a great platform for me because it had like tens of millions of downloads at the time. And it allowed me to sort of choose my projects. And I was very, very drawn to user generated media, allowing people to, create and express themselves, allowing non-professionals to express themselves through media. So, you mentioned K Solo Karaoke. Before that was like, make your own MTV music video, make your own Nine Inch Nails, enhanced CD audio track. It was anything that you can create and share. And so karaoke was kind of like, the first, I'd say, big project that we turned it into a company. It was called K Solo Karaoke. And it was sold later to Fox MySpace, became MySpace Karaoke. And after that, to fast forward, um, you know, we were already experts at building consumer networks, and this was early on, so there was not a lot of experts. And when the mobile devices were strong enough to do, live streaming, it became very clear that this is a place to focus on, and that it simplifies user expression because all they needed to do is just press a button, and boom, now they are expressing themselves and communicating, and people can react and whatnot. And so we were very fortunate to be there very early on and grew YouNow to over 120 million user sessions a month. At one point, it was like the third app in the social category in the store. It was very heady. And part of, what was so special is we were the first to introduce microtransactions in the creator economy. So before that, there was, maybe in China, they were doing similar stuff with girls singing karaoke and stuff like that. But that kind of gamification of the monetization, the gifts, the tipping, etc., it didn't really exist. And I remember some of my investors at the time were like, why are you introducing monetization so early? And I was like, no, it's not, for us to make money. It's for the creators to make money. And, as soon as we introduced that, it was a hockey stick because all the creators saw that as a platform to, monetize their audience in a new way. And so, and communicate with it, interact with it in a new way, etc. So that was You Now. And after that, to fast forward to get to popcorn, here we are with effectively nuclear power. Like, this is what this, AI and Gen AI is. And if we're talking about consumers expressing themselves and making it easy for them, it doesn't get any easier than talking to the machine. And then the value on the other side, the output, is just like better than anything, in the history. And so it's kind of like a perfect storm for UGC and for self-expression. And that's what we're doing in popcorn. We call it, it's a consumer social platform, as you mentioned, for vibe movie making. That means you talk to the machine, and it makes the movie for you. You can think about it as a co-director or a co-producer. And you start with an idea. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to show it, and it creates the movie. And then after that, you can start directing it. You're like, actually, let's move that scene from the penthouse in Shanghai to the meat market, and change her hair color to blonde, or click on a character, tell it to be funnier. The sky is the limit, and we build it in a way that is social, and that's like a really important sort of guide for us. It's not only that we come from that and we're passionate about building the consumer social, it's also that we believe there's going to be a lot of tools out there. And, we don't want to be a tool. We want to be a network, and benefit from the network effects, and from the gamification. And that's the short of it.
Amazing. Okay, so throughout your career, you've been able to identify these different, I don't know, like technological ways, if you will. How are you able to do this? Because mobile and crypto and AI and et cetera, et cetera. Like, and even going way back, I don't even know what you'd call like podcast or K-Solo. Like, I don't even know what type of technology it was. You mentioned like laser discs and stuff, but like, how are you able to identify this? You just are in the know and you know the right people, or like, what is that thing?
It's interesting. So I think that when you're really passionate about something and you become a little bit of an expert in something, then the world brings to you aspects, technological aspects, social aspects, cultural aspects that touch that thing. And, in my case, it was user generated media. I even had a fantasy that I coined user generated media very early on in the 90s. And then people started using UGC, and I'm like, fine, like, I'll never get that coinage. But that was really, and remains the thread between all of the work. And then the technologies, it just came in and out. And you're kind of like an animal, because you're sort of, in the lookout for what's going to enable it. And that's kind of the driver.
Has there been a guiding thesis throughout the products and companies that you started? Is there, I don't know, you talk about gamification, talk about social, and filmmaking, of course, has been your background and whatnot, and a lot of projects that you've involved have involved video in some form. But is there some guiding thesis or principle, or you're just like, I'm just building cool stuff that I'm passionate about?
Yeah, I think that, how do you um constraints are good. You can't give people, too many options. And so, how do you simplify it, dumb it down, in the right way, while more advanced users may be able to dig in and have, more control, more governance, more professional output. But for the regular user, they're not confused by all these, options and possibilities, and you're sort of making decisions for them, for the 90% of the people. So I'd say, from a product standpoint, we haven't always been successful. We've created, bad products that didn't work. But that's, a good sort of guideline.
Interesting. So you're targeting mass market, and through that, you have to simplify in order to obtain the mass market, versus like, using like an analogy of like a video editor. I don't know, like Adobe After Effects. Instead of Adobe After Effects, you're going after like whatever TikTok uses for their video editing. Is that kind of the vibe?
And even more dumbed down because of AI, which is, actually make me a movie about, Andrew Steinwald introducing his agent assistants to his wife. It's like, okay, done. Like it knows who Andrew is because I actually created you. I uploaded a photo and I connected it to your, you know, blog and newsletter and information, LinkedIn, and then the rest of it is like it's going to make up based on what we just said. It's going to invent your wife because she's not in the system. And it's going to invent these agents based on your writings, your speech. So probably you're going to have a shopping agent and maybe a gaming bro agent and whatever it knows about the stuff that you've said, because it's going to research it like that. It's going to conceptualize it and it's going to put on the screen something that is close enough. So it's almost like writers had word processors and now we have, you know, Popcorn or Gen AI that, you know, helps simplify it.
What was the kind of genesis point where you're like, I need to go all in on AI video, and I'm going to make this platform Popcorn, which is specifically built for the masses, not trying to do AI video that's like for the top 0.1% power users.
So my friend, this is a couple of years ago, he resampled Ball of Confusion, this song, and his name is Aviva. And I wanted to make a music video using Gen AI. And I was very passionate to learn, and I was doing everything myself and the entire workflow and whatnot. And at one point, I'm like, somebody should productize this. This is insane. Like, it's insane, not because it's so complicated. It wasn't that complicated. It's insane about how powerful it is and how many people are going to want to use it. Like, I want a commercial for my pizza shop. Okay, talk to it. Tell it about your pizza shop. Upload some photos, and here's a commercial. Everybody needs something. You know, my sister is a couples therapist. She's like, "Can I use this?" I'm like, "What are you going to use this for?" She's like, "Well, you know, Harvard comes out with this research every once in a while. I'd like to put Instagram videos out there." It's like, yeah, just put the Harvard link, you know, and you can, you know, your avatar can talk about it and introduce it, and you can have an Instagram video. So it's shocking. Like the total addressable market here is basically endless because video is the dominant communication method of our time. Yet there's this delta and discrepancy where only, you know, 5% of the population can actually make videos that somebody would want to watch. So that delta is the opportunity.
Wow. I mean, that is, yeah. I mean, you just mentioned a use case I never even would think about, like a couple therapists making some sort of video for her business, and even for like her clients to feel closer together. Like, hey guys, this is your future that you should have, or whatever. That's super interesting. Yeah, and you're right about the amount of people that can produce content is so small comparative to the amount of people that consume it, and you're just closing in. That margin is your opportunity essentially of the addressable market there, which is crazy. All right, so Popcorn, it's a vibe movie making platform. Can you show us some, I don't know, share screen, maybe show us some pictures or a video of like how this works?
Would love to. Let me walk you through a couple of slides and then we'll make our own video. Maybe you can give me a prompt and we'll make one live.
Awesome.
Great. So let's just go through this for a second.
Your attempts at righteousness are as convincing as your hair.
Fake news. I'm the best Christian, the most Christian ever. I love Jesus more than you love yourself.
Enough of this farce. I demand the test of truth. Bring forth your lie detector.
Okay. So this is the interface to put in the prompt. Why don't we throw one in, Andrew, and then we'll look at a few more things.
Okay, let's do big Roman fan, big Julius Caesar fan. Let's do Julius Caesar marching on Rome. He's gonna go take over Rome.
And can we throw you in there? Maybe you can be one of his generals and is supported by his favorite general, Andrew.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do we use my full name, Andrew Steinwald, and will it know who that is?
So I saved your character earlier
Right.
by his favorite. And basically anyone can create a character and make it available, not just consistently in their shots and scenes in this movie, but let's say that, you know, I make a superhero and I want to use it in other movies. So I don't have to recreate it. I can just tag it. So favorite general at Andrew, and here it should bring up Andrew.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. And that's it. That can be the entire prompt. And let's make it maybe 45 seconds. Is that okay?
Great.
Okay. And now, what kind of,
Oh, very cool. What style?
yeah,
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Let's do anime. I think that'd be pretty cool.
anime. Excellent. And let's remove the kids safe for this. And we're going to make it horizontal. Let's do it. Okay, so this is a live test. Caesar's March. We have it.
Oh, nice. Okay, awesome.
Okay, so we'll pick it up here. So as you can see, it's making the movie right now. And what do we know about it? It's historical. It's in English. It has 3 scenes. It has 11 shots. It has 5 characters. It has 3 sets. So let's check into it in a few minutes and just look at a few other things. Is that okay?
Very cool. That's awesome.
Okay. So let's look behind the scenes at what's going on here. Basically, we have our agent sitting in the middle and doing the workflow for you. I'm not going to stay on this for very long, but that's the idea. And then once the movie is ready, you can actually direct the action.
Work was suffocating me, needed to breathe again, you know?
She doesn't see there is a tsunami coming.
So that's how easy it is to direct with a vibe agent. And then
Zoom in. Hunter says, is someone out there?
Is someone out there?
Make it anime.
Is someone out there?
Make it 3D.
Is someone out there?
Make it LA Noir.
Is someone out there?
creating the characters. This is how I created you. Here I create Karl Marx.
Greetings, comrades. What's my favorite movie genre? Class action movies.
You can then summon your created characters into any movie.
Abraham Lincoln rides into the scene.
And compose the soundtrack.
Make the music more intense.
And then what's interesting is the dynamic information. So what's happening is it's doing research in real time. In this case, I'm asking Jesus Christ to deliver today's crypto news. Let's look at it.
Pepe moved 11.75 trillion tokens in early June. Whales playing with your hopes. Such greed. Yet you worship these digital golden calves. The Trump coin delayed its unlock, fearing collapse, then sold exclusive dinners. Turning fellowship into commerce. How far you...
And then let's have Karl Marx in the back.
Holy shit, Bitcoin just smashed $92,000. We're in uncharted territory.
Bitcoin? What devilry have the bourgeoisie conjured now?
As digital currency soared, Marx found himself thrust into the heart of hypercapitalism.
This is not the revolution I had in mind.
So Karl Marx brings to the table his brain. It's very different when he walks into a barbershop versus me walking into a barbershop. He says different things. The other characters respond to him differently. The plot changes, et cetera, et cetera. And then, as I mentioned earlier, for us, the most important dimension is not the technicality of how to make the movies. It's actually the social aspect here. And so we build it from day one as a social product. And what does it mean? It's not just that you can publish and people can see and comment and leave likes, et cetera, but everything is an object. So every shot, every scene, every prop, every character is remixable. So Andrew, if you create, a Julius Caesar superhero that's like super cool and different, and now you can tag it, you can also decide to make it available to your friends or make it available to the public. And then every time we use your superhero, you get informed, you actually get some credits as a reward for the fact that people are using your stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So the infrastructure is a remix, collaborative, Mad Lib infrastructure, from the bottoms up. So this is just, a little bit of an introduction.
That's amazing. Okay, so the thought process is so I guess number one, this is what we're seeing now is the worst it's ever going to be. which is crazy because it's already pretty good, and it's the worst it's ever going to be. And that kind of blows my mind because I'm like, man, we just had Karl Marx in there and with his kind of thoughts and brain and whatnot. And then we're gonna have, when you want to change the music, you say I want it to be more intense, and then it just automatically does that music for you. The lip syncing of the conversation, like the character looks like it's talking, and then the associated imagery. It's just crazy. It's absolutely insane. So I guess like the product is this AI vibe video creation tool. Why add in the community aspect? Is that more of like you want to build a moat because yeah, is that because you want to build a moat, or how come?
So this is inside baseball, but you'd appreciate it. When we first showed it to our lead investors at Union Square Ventures, it was actually called Wonder.pro. And they liked it. And Fred looked at me and he said, Adi, this is not Wonder.pro. This is Wonder.fun. And there was a lot behind that statement, which is not just that, we are social consumer guys and not tools guys or API guys and whatnot, but that the tool business is a very different business than the consumer network business. And we know which business we want to be in. And to your point about moat, et cetera, we believe there's going to be a lot of tools. They're going to be very good. Hollywood is going to use them. Everybody's going to use them. And we don't want to be in that business. We want to be in the social business.
And so in order to be in the social business, you need to get the creators on board and kind of like, and what is the experience for the creator? They like the social experience for the creator. Are they going there and meeting other enthusiasts of AI video and sharing tips and ideas, or like what is that like?
So what's happening right now is that first of all, we're in beta, and so we have a few great creators. It's fascinating to see what they're doing. And the first kind of creators that really, really love it are actually the meme guys. And the meme guys are putting out a lot of content all the time. And it's kind of like text and images and soundtrack and dialogue. And it's not even lip sync. It's not even video. It's kind of like flip book animation fancy shit. And they get millions and millions of users. Now, for them, this is nuclear power because they're not video editors. They're writers. They're concept people, et cetera, et cetera. So, with one sentence, they can be creating their stuff and they can create a lot more of it. And it looks better because it's moving, et cetera, et cetera. It tells the story in a better way. As a matter of fact, we can watch one if you'd like, just, for shits and giggles, because it's kind of like inspiring. And then so that's what's happening today is this kind of like, okay, it's a productivity tool for me, from heaven. That's just one step. The fact that in the future, not very far future, very near future, like, as soon as they're ready, their fans can also remix that and make their own versions of that, or can tag some of the characters there. And like, let's think about, Italian brain rot. It's like, okay, where do these characters live? I want to do Italian brain rot right now. Can I? I'm a 14-year-old going to high school in Brooklyn. It's like, well, maybe you have to create the character. No, you don't have to. Just tag them, make them, get into the lore, continue the story, be part of a community, etc. So there's all that aspect that, we see. And then there's like stuff that is less sort of, social superpowers. And just like you and me, Andrew, want to, make the story together because we want to roast, Jack. And let's roast Jack. And so that's fun. And, and then Jack's going to want to roast us. And so, that's another, kind of like lower. And then there's the whole sort of more IP fan fiction that, I can see down the line brands can be interested in. It's like, okay, let's let, everybody, make the next episode of, whatever show. And use the characters, and like that can be on brand. It's only these characters. You can't change their voices. Maybe even the AI knows that, that character can, smoke pot, but can't kill people. It's like, okay, the AI can know. And so there's a lot of dimensions to what the social, how the social can unfold.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. You mentioned like like it's almost going to be a new form of communication for maybe me, but definitely younger people, right? Like I can see myself using it every once in a while to roast my friend for sure, and I can see it for many other use cases, but specifically to like tease my friend and make fun of him, like totally. But for younger folks, I could see it being like, I don't know, there could be a whole bunch of different use cases for them. Like, hey, come to my party on Saturday, and instead of the invite being a text message, like a particle link or something like that, it's a short form video of like this crazy party that's happening at my house or whatnot. So it's almost like a new form of like memeing or communication for like, yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see like how it plays out, because right now it's probably all it's right now it's theses, right? Like you're not certain of how exactly the users are going to use these tools to their fullest extent, or are you very certain of how they will?
Not certain at all. The only thing I know is that everybody wants to make fun of Trump. Not because they're Republican or Democrat, just because if it was Biden, they would,
Funny guy.
yeah, like he's a caricature. And it's like, and when Elon was in the mix, then everybody wanted to like bring him into their stuff. And so there's already like kind of like elements that people want to share and have access to, and that's kind of like social and memey. Um, and so that we know, and we build this kind of idea of global characters, courtesy characters, public characters, etc. And then that lends itself also to, you know, props, just because technically it's the same, and sets because technically it's the same. We don't know that people are going to want us, look at your movie and say, "Oh, I really love those bicycle. Let's make a movie around those bicycles on Mars." We have a hunch that there's a little bit of sort of the blank screen syndrome where, there's the 99-1 rule where 1% will be creators, 9% will get involved, and 90% will just watch. Like, how do we move these people into more engagement, into becoming creators themselves? And the theory is the remix. It's like, okay, I'm actually inspired by that, flower or by that rocket ship, and I want to tell a story around that. And, every aspect of what you're looking at can be a beginning of a new story or an evolution of the existing story.
And are you guys plugging in all the different, I don't know, models and whatnot on the back end to enable this, or are the users themselves deciding, okay, I want, this video model, I want this audio model, et cetera, et cetera?
So we are very consciously not burdening the users with a lot of options. It's our responsibility to put out quality stuff. And, we're testing VO3, we're testing Kling 2.1, we're testing OpenAI for images, where we have a whole test process, and then we bring in the best of breed so that the user consumer doesn't need to worry about that. They can worry about the concepts, the story, etc.
And how do you think about, and this is a big one, but IP, because I mean, IP is like OpenAI has issues, and basically everyone in AI has issues around IP. But how do you stop people from using like Mickey, or I guess Mickey Mouse is now public domain, but like I don't know, Superman, which might not be public domain. Um, and I get it. Like right now, it's still extremely early, and maybe the rules are a bit nebulous on that. But in the future, do you expect there to be some like automated process where it's like, oh, this IP is owned by Disney, you need approval or whatever?
So I think there's two topics that are tangential and important, as important. One is trust and safety, and the other is IP. The trust and safety is even more important for us because what we don't want is, to upload Betty from the homeroom and, portray her in a bad light, because that's like bullying. So we need to protect that. So if you're creating a character, it needs to be you. It needs to detect that it's you, etc. You're adding your voice. You're not adding Betty's voice, etc. So that's one, technological dimension that needs to be adhered to. On the IP side, there are, a few layers. The first one is that the models and services that we are using are doing a fine job in preventing you from creating Taylor Swift right now. And so they return that error, and the error goes to the user, and the user is blocked. Now, are they perfect? They're not perfect. Our agent also has a set of rules of what it can do and what it can't do. So speaking of Donald Trump, okay, I want to make fun of Donald Trump. That's fine. That's fair use. He's a public figure. He's a politician. Make fun of him all day. It will fall under the, artistic self-expression parody clause. Okay, I want Donald Trump to sell my used car. Nope, that's illegal. Okay, the agent can know that. The agent can understand the intent from the script, from the dialogue, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, okay, is this under fair use or is this under, uh, uh, illegal exploitation?
So I think that's great. But I will say, in the age of AI, so it's like you're in America and you're building this company in America, and there's a lot of rules pertaining to IP. Some of them make sense, in my opinion. Some of them don't. I almost feel like IP laws are a bit outdated for our current era. And if you look at like a Chinese company, a lot of them won't. They don't really care as much about the IP laws and whatnot. So doesn't that put you at just and again, like you're going to operate by the rules that are given to you. So like there's nothing around that. But just from a personal level, how do you feel about IP laws? And with the era of AI, when we know that there's going to be other people in other countries that are not caring about these laws, how do you think about competing and just building a product that is top notch?
Andrew, you got cut off between the era of AI and top notch. I missed the last sentence.
Right. So, how do you feel? I want to talk to you about IP, just because IP is, there's companies that are abroad, mainly China, that don't really care about IP laws and that can kind of take advantage of all IP versus you're in America under US law, you're going to follow those laws. But, when you're thinking about how do I create the best product possible with the most customizability, most optionality for users, if you have to really pay attention and put a lot of resources in IP and what characters can and can't do versus another company in China that doesn't have to do that. How do you, I guess this is your personal feeling, but how do you personally feel about, making the best product and competing with someone who doesn't, have to care about IP laws?
Yeah, it's a really interesting, big question, and maybe there's two ways to answer it. One is, of course, we will work with the laws here and respect them and more, and account for the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the takedown policies, et cetera, et cetera. I think that working in America and the American environment has a lot of advantages, and we benefit from those advantages. And it comes with some constraints that hopefully are reasonable for the most part. And the fact that there's aliens who are breaking it is like it's something to live with. Um, um, and I think that we can win regardless because we know the culture, because we are here, because we are um, uh, experienced in this market, unlike those guys. And when those guys come in, they're going to need to conform to the rules here. So am I like, is that my number one word right now? No. But it's kind of fascinating to think about it because it's a real threat.
How are you staying abreast of all the advancements? Because it's not like you're paying attention to one. You're paying attention to video and images and voice and music and all these different kind of subdomains within AI. How are you staying abreast of that? And then how do you think about connecting it in your back end in that kind of, you mentioned like the kind of like testing facility, if you will?
Yeah. It's very easy to keep abreast of it because you're an animal of it. You want the lip sync to be better. You want the dialogue to emote more. You want the character to cry. It's like, okay, why can't she cry? Like, you're like on all the channels that are pushing the envelope in terms of emotion and emotiveness and all of that. We don't get to, push all of the fronts with the same vigor. So, lip sync is a lot more important, let's say, than, the character being able to laugh, or, having additional dialogue tracks to overlap. So like one character is speaking at a time, like, yeah, we can have that, but there's a list of priorities. So, it's not as hard to keep track when you're really passionate, when the team is really passionate, and when you're already in those conversations with those, providers and with those communities.
What are the compute requirements for generating video? Are they significantly higher than generating purely audio or purely imagery and purely text and whatnot?
It's significantly more expensive. It takes significantly longer time. And those two things are unfortunately not 100% in line with the fact that we're building consumer products. Uh, the consumers don't want to wait and they don't want to pay a lot. What we're finding is that the early adopters are actually kind of prosumers, but we are still sort of building it for the consumer. And I think the prosumers appreciate that because they appreciate simplicity, and good UX and whatnot. So that's one thing. The other thing that is, very unique here is that, we are orchestrating all of these things, as you say, the writing, the dialogue, the music, the video, the images, and constructing the story, which is really our specialty. So you can think about it as, anybody can take a prompt and turn it into a screenplay. Like we can do that right now on ChatGPT. Not anybody can take that screenplay and parse it and produce it onto the screen. Now, traditionally, that's what Tarantino did and, Woody Allen. And now a robot can do that. And so we build the robot that can do that. And we build a robot that gets better and better at directing movies, the more movies it directs. And that's really sort of the technological aspect of what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's just there's so many areas I want to dig into here because it's just such a okay. So talking about the cost and the time, it's like this is a net new behavior that consumers like weren't able to do. So if they're not prepared to like spend a little bit of money and wait some time, it's like that's crazy because this is like it's like I remember when the internet just came out for airlines for airplanes and people would log in and they'd be like, this is so slow, it's bullshit. And I'm like, dude, we have internet on airlines now. This is insane. Like it was never a thing before, and now we kind of take it for granted now. And now we're getting Starlink, so it's getting extremely fast. But this is like totally new. I mean, what you're able to enter in a prompt and create a video that's insane. So okay, so I want to talk about monetization, talking about cost and time. Do you expect the time and compute requirements to go down over time as we get more compute out there and whatnot? But in terms of the cost, how are you thinking about um, uh, revenue within your business?
So we made a very cognizant decision not to do subscription. We feel like subscription is kind of like an enterprise slash B2B slash exploitive, because like people forget their credit cards and it's like, is this really a consumer behavior? And, it doesn't really jive with this kind of business also because really it's about credits. It's about how much usage. It's like, even if I sell you a subscription for $20, it's like, okay, you need more credits. And so we decide to focus on the credits, which we call popcorn. And the credits, traditionally in this sort of pro business, the creators buy the credits. We are building it so that the creators can buy the credits, but also the viewers can use the credits as a social currency. It's like, oh, let me throw you some popcorn. I love what you're doing. As a matter of fact, if I throw enough popcorn at you, I'm going to become a producer of this movie and I'm going to show up in the credits. And I like that. Now I'm really part of creating that, supporting the creation of that. And so this is how we're thinking about it, big picture. Not all the social features are out there on the beta, which I invite you, Andrew, to test. Yeah, but that's a big picture. So it's a in-app currency effectively for the credits that is, has also some social aspects to it.
That's really cool. I really like the idea of creating a social aspect of it. That brings in more community and more kind of ownership and connectivity within that community. So people are supporting each other and whatnot. There's also a lot of gamification you can include in there, whether it be like, hey, you logged in 5 days in a row. Here's some credits because you're such a great power user, whatever. So a lot of really cool design space around that. All right, so I mean, you kind of mentioned it right there, but how would you differentiate popcorn versus like Runway, Pika, or like Synthesia, which is more of like the talking head? But how do you differentiate popcorn compared to these other players?
I was just talking about this with a creator the other day who compared it to one of those exact names, and he needs to do all the work. He needs to do whatever video platform it is, it's going to generate 5 to 10-second shots. Now you need to generate the next shot. Now you need to bring in the music from here. Now you need to bring in the writing from here, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's not what we do. We are not a tool to create shots or to create dialogue, et cetera. We are a service that creates stories and that enables people to tell their stories. I met this guy in South by Southwest, and we're still in touch with him. He's one of our testers. Great guy. And he saw me at a party we were talking about. And then on my mobile phone, I said, why don't you put in a movie? And he put in, I think it was a kid creates a robot to be his friend so he won't be lonely. And he said, make it claymation style. And we had, a beer, and we checked in, a few minutes later, and he had his animated story about a boy who builds a robot so that he will have a friend. I think he was crying. I think the guy was crying. And then he told me, I had this story in my head for years, and I was able to bring it to life in a few minutes. And it was so touching. I'm actually like, this is the second time I'm telling a story because I told it to my team at the time because I was so touched. So it's like everybody has stories. I'll tell you another story. Like, I'm a Jew from Iraqi origins. So my mother is from Baghdad. And the family, the grandma tells the story about, when they left Baghdad in the 20s and whatnot. I'm like, make a documentary about a Jewish family leaving Baghdad in 1927. And I shared that with the family. It's like, whoa, it's like you had a camera then. Now, I should interview my grandma a lot more to get all the details, and put them in there. But, just from research on the internet, it came up with, a kind of story of what a Jewish family leaving Baghdad at the time would be facing and what would their journey be. I'll give you another example. One of my investors, Andy, put up a tweet about how beautiful these two Cézanne paintings are. Paul Cézanne, the French master. And I responded to this and I said, oh, let's ask Cézanne about the paintings. And you have Cézanne there explaining what he was feeling and what he was thinking, and as he was drawing these two paintings. It was kind of like priceless. It's like, and so everybody has things that they want to know, that they want to talk to ChatGPT about, that they want to, explore, etc. And now they can actually visualize it and share stories. So, yeah, that's a long ramble.
No, it's incredible. You're talking about multiple use cases and multiple user archetypes right there. And one of the things that popped in my head was like it's like for school, for education, because if you want to, you're talking about the Jewish family that was leaving Iraq in the 20s or whatever, that's just like a piece of information that you can now kind of quasi experience, or, this person's family was doing XYZ, or, hey, take me through when, the Native Americans in America were, I'm in Chicago. So like building Kokia, which is like down south of Chicago. It's like this massive settlement that was a Native American settlement, but it's like being able to experience these things or see them in a way that were never really possible except through a textbook. And that's going to increase. It's like I've talked about the senses and how number one is text, where like you're reading information, you're taking in, you're understanding it. Number two is like audio. So like, it's pretty powerful. You can now hear something, but being able to see it is way more powerful, right? So you can see it, you can hear it, you can read it. It's like, that's, the only thing beyond that is kind of like, I go with like brain computer interfaces where you're like experiencing, the Kokia or whatever, the Native American settlement, but that's kind of 20 years in the future. But yeah, the use cases for this video, for AI video, are essentially like limitless.
They are limitless. They are limitless. And maybe we can look at an example. Is that okay? Can I share my screen?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, we just had a war between Israel and Iran, and it's not political or anything. It's just like the news. And it was, let's see, somebody asked me like, oh, does Israel have nuclear weapons? And like we pulled up the Wikipedia and we're like, oh, we don't want to read this right now. let's just put a prompt like explain this Wikipedia article. That's it. That was the prompt. Okay.
It's like, ChatGPT, I can take that article, be like, hey, ChatGPT, like, give me the juice of this article, and it can spit out like 2 sentences. Or you can experience the learning and the article through popcorn, which is that's so wild. That is going to okay, so I'm trying to think of like the second and third order effects of what happens when AI video is ubiquitous, easy, cheap, high quality, etc. Like what I guess I want to know what happens in your term, in your opinion, and then we'll go on to like what happens like longer term.
It's crazy. So what we have and what other people will eventually have, obviously, is we have effectively a story API. So it's like, okay, what's the concept? What's the story? What's the link? It's make it a story. Make, and if you think about that, it's like, okay, what's the social trends? Like when they say you're going to be watching whatever you want to watch and whatever thing, it's going to be using an API like that. It's going to be comprising it for you on the fly based on your preferences, based on your history, based on the algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how powerful this technology and where it's heading is at. I'm not saying we are doing that tomorrow morning, but I'm sure there will be people who would want to do that. And that's a little bit of a scary world, of course. But if we're talking about the future harbors opportunities and dangers.
Yeah, and it's always so easy to bring up like the kind of the spooky aspects of AI and whatnot, which of course people use it for nefarious reasons, but just like people use the internet for nefarious reasons and crypto for nefarious reasons and technology for nefarious reasons. But enough people talk about that. I guess I want to focus on like the good that's going to come out of it. One of the things I think about is like how everyone in the world is going to be able to essentially create like Hollywood level movies and productions and stories, like because the amount of creativity that's locked in, there could be someone in Kenya, someone in Japan, someone in Uruguay or whatever that just like is super creative, doesn't have the budget, is not near Hollywood, doesn't have the context, etc. And they can now create a world famous movie series. They can create the next Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or whatever. So that to me is crazy, and it's going to radically shift how Hollywood is structured and kind of the power dynamics, and what I think is going to be a positive way for the end consumer.
I think it will be positive, and I think that you're 100% right. Obviously, um, the it's moving so fast that even these these AI studios that are being created right now, it takes them like 2-3 months to put out like a trailer for their movie because they're making a Hollywood movie. And you look at that trailer from 4 months ago, like the technology 4 months ago, and it looks like, oh, any kid can do that now. This, like when you started working on that project with 16 people to make your feature, like you were cutting edge, but you're no longer cutting edge 4 months later. All of that can be done by two kids, you know. And so things are moving so fast that you are absolutely right. I think within 2 years, we will have those two kids making the movie, and those AI Hollywood studios. I don't know. It may be a tough business actually.
Yeah. So in this world, we're already in a world where content's very abundant, but we're talking about like a exponential content, supernova, if you will, right? So what happens in that world? Does curation, taste, and quality become even more important, or like what is how do you win in that world?
You think about this stuff much more than I do, Andrew. What do you think? How is it going to play out?
I think about I don't think quality matters. You can look at like Roblox or Minecraft as top games, and it's considered quote unquote like low quality graphics, and people don't care. Storytelling continues to be the thing that dominates. So I'm like, man, whoever can tell the best stories is going to be make great content that people want to consume. And that I keep going to that, and that's why I'm so excited because I'm like, man, we're gonna unlock the world's creativity. It can be a kid or an adult in anywhere in the world that is internet, and thanks to Starlink, it's gonna be like everybody soon. And they're gonna be able to create the next Lord of the Rings, next Star Wars, and the next big IP, all from, and it's gonna be maybe a 14-year-old. It's gonna be people are gonna be mind blown. So that's something I'm really really excited about. And then on top of that, there's the hyper personalization that we've been talking throughout this call, where it's my birthday. I want to send out really inventive, kind of links for people to sign up for my birthday. I make a little short form video, a 2-minute clip of all the cool stuff we're going to do with my birthday, or paintballing and go-karting or whatever, right? And yeah, it's going to be really novel, really interesting. And I think that's going to be a great use case for, there's going to be so many great use cases that we don't even know about yet, which that to me is also represents a massive monetization opportunity, which is really exciting as well. So, all right. So that's kind of like near term, Hollywood disrupted creativity for everybody, personalization, et cetera. Thinking longer term, like one of the things I think about, and this is going a little bit on the negative side, but is shared experiences, right? I think growing up, like everyone saw Lord of the Rings, everyone saw Star Wars, everyone saw these films that everybody saw and could talk about. And now it's like, I talked to a friend, they're like, hey, have you seen this show on Netflix? I'm like, oh no, I haven't seen it yet, because there's so much content out there. And maybe it's really good, but I don't have the time. So like that, like cultural fragmentation, if you will, that's something that I think about. And I'm like, man, hopefully the cream rises to the top, and the top stuff, the top content will still be surfaced. But it does make me nervous, where I'm like, man, what if we're just not watching the same stuff and consuming the same content? It's harder for us to connect on a social level.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, and I agree. There's going to be a lot more fragmentation. The other thing that may happen is that more people will be involved in the creation, because the creation is so simple, and the format of the creation may change. It's not just that the two kids are going to make the Hollywood movie, which they will, and that they're going to make the TikTok, which they will, but it's that, a lot of their fans are now going to be not just consuming it, but actually making themselves onto the feed because they had an idea, because they contributed, because they uploaded their photo. And now it's like the participation is just so much easier. And what are these formats going to look like, and how that's going to shape the media? And when I'm consuming it, maybe I'm consuming it not just as a viewer, but also as a part creator, because it's like a Mad Lib that I contributed to somehow, not just with popcorn credits, but with actual idea, creativity, word, picture.
I'm also thinking about the business opportunities, because we're talking about the models and the layers on the foundation. Then we're talking about popcorn, which is kind of the integration layer and the production layer. But then will there be, two kids in whatever country that form the next Disney? Like, is that kind of the third order effect of this, or the next business opportunity there, where, the next Disney is going to come out of AI video using these different tools? Or what are the other business opportunities that you've thought of?
I'll tell you that I've been approached by a few people who want to build businesses on top of this technology. And I'll explain the businesses in really high level, because I don't want to give it away for their sake. One was um, related to art and explaining art, because it's endless amount of stuff. So think about it as educational. And now you can bring that education into life and make it entertaining. The other one was doing the same thing for, public businesses, and making that information entertainment. And so, up until now, it was like, you would need to like build a studio in India. You would need to feed them scripts. You would need to have artists drawing it. You would have to have a production line. And it's not realistic to make, little movies about hundreds of thousands of art pieces or public business. Now you can have a bot churn out 1,000 a day, period, end of story. And you can have another bot QA it to make sure that, it conforms to whatever specification, et cetera, in terms of length, in terms of, the dialogue not getting cut off, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of business opportunities on top of that, in all verticals.
Wow, that's very cool. Adi, this has been incredible. It is time for the closing questions. Alrighty. If you could instantly master any new skill to help you in business, what would it be?
Meditate better. I just started meditating seriously in the past year, and it's really, I have a lot of respect for the masters who do it and make the most of it. And it's been a little bit life-changing for me. I stopped drinking. I'm concentrating better, focus better. So I see the benefits, and I want more.
All right. What is one lesson you learned throughout your journey that you wish you knew at the start?
Don't make it perfect. Just make it work and put it out there.
Interesting. I feel like that specific piece of advice, sometimes some people say, they say lean startup is the way, you should just go, go, go. Other people say, no, the era of the lean startup is over. You should perfect your product before releasing it.
I understand that too, and I think I'm living that dilemma right now. But in the end of the day, on balance, and maybe we solved it by having a closed beta. So we ship to the closed beta, but we still want to be perfect to the open one, and maybe that's the balance.
I like it. All right. What is one unpopular opinion you hold about startups or company building?
I don't know. I've been a single founder more than I've been a co-founder, and so I think it's more popular to have co-founders, and there's a belief that that's very strong. And I don't know that I disagree with it, but I haven't really acted on
Oh, I like that one. All right. What has entrepreneurship taught you about people?
it. I've always respected musicians. I've always admired artists. And over the years, as I mature and become a little wiser, I'm starting to have the same feelings and respect for entrepreneurs who are, such risk takers, put themselves on the line, go for what they believe in, for their vision against all odds. It's extremely admirable and inspiring.
Amazing. All right. Last one. Is there some form of content, whether it be like a book, a TV series, podcast series, etc., that had a major impact on you?
Um, the book that I love the most ever is The Last Lion, about the life of Winston Churchill by William Manchester. It's I think 4 different big books. And what's so amazing about it is he was born in the old world. Like they were literally fighting with swords. And he was like leading the modern fight. He was like, inventing the tank for World War One, and then like, nuclear weapons in World War Two. And so here's like this one guy who like transcended like the old world into the new world, not to mention that he ran an empire, a mini empire by that time. So it's kind of like a really fascinating story on so many levels.
That's amazing. Awesome. All right, Adi, where can people find more about yourself and learn more about Popcorn?
Let's First of all, should we watch the Popcorn movie?
Yes. Yes. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So this is your movie. Let's Can you remind us of the prompt?
It was Julius Caesar marches on Rome with his favorite general, Andrew Steinwald.
Amazing. I know Andrew, and I could see why it would be his favorite. So we can see here the editor, it created different scenes, different shots, different characters. We can see Andrew, we can see Caesar, and let's go ahead and play the movie.
In the dying light of empires, men speak of destiny.
Caesar's legions move like time itself, inevitable, unbreakable.
You speak of a man who would be king. What of the Republic?
Caesar builds with vision. The dead cannot hold the living to their dreams. Victory carved from chaos, Caesar, order from the wild margins.
What do you see in tomorrow's light?
We carry the dawn, Caesar, we carry the dawn. Between what was and what must be, we speak of Rome's destiny. History remembers not the cautious, but the bold. Caesar sees what the Republic cannot. True power serves the future, and the future remembers everything.
It prioritized the Andrew story because that was baked into your character in terms of your knowledge over Caesar. I think we need to fine tune that.
I think it's insane that, first of all, it sounds like me, which is crazy. Then on top of that, I mean, hopefully that looks a bit like me. I hope I'm that handsome. That'd be awesome. And I mean, it just, again, this is the dawn of this technology. It is already good. It is going to get so much better, and that is so cool. So I'm very excited for you to come back on again in 6 months and then do some more video, and we can make even more cool stuff.
Awesome. And just to challenge ourselves, I ran another version that was photorealistic because you asked for the anime, which is what we watched, and I'll send it to you after.
Amazing. All right, Adi, where can people find Popcorn and learn more about yourself?
Yeah, so go to popcorn.co. Please join our beta, and we want to hear from you. And all the social links are right there on the nav of popcorn.co. That's popcorn.co. And that's it.
Amazing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.